Thanks to the likes of Lydia Ko, Ariya Jutanugarn, and of course Canadian Major champ Brooke Henderson, the LPGA Tour is stronger than ever in terms of player talent. And thanks to Commissioner Michael Wan, who took over in 2010, the women's circuit is rock solid in most other areas too, something that's not always been the case.
What should I call you? Should I call you Mike?
Commissioner or Mike, whatever you prefer.
What did the ladies call you?
Commish.
Commish?
Yeah.
So we'll go with that, Commish.
That's the nice thing they call me. What they call me when I'm not around, I'm not
Behind
sure.
your back, you're not sure, right? Okay, so Commish, you took over in 2010, obviously at a time when the LPGA Tour was struggling. It was down to, I think, 23 or 24 events.
Yeah.
And here we are in 2016, you have 35, sponsorships are up, viewership is up, purses are obviously up. What's been the secret to your success?
Well, there was really nothing ever wrong with the LPGA. We were going through a pretty significant recession in North America back in 2009 and 10. And you know, when you go through a recession, one of the things that companies stop spending money on is corporate hospitality, which is really our bread and butter. And our basics were, we're the most customer-centric sport in the world. We spend more time on the customer than we spend on ourselves. And I think that surprises people when I say it, but when a player signs up here to play an event, the first thing she'll get is a 5x7 card about Manulife. Why do they do this? Pictures of the most important people that'll be here this week. What should you tweet? Facebook, Instagram. We'll talk about what they hope you say when there's a microphone in your face. Where do you send your handwritten thank you notes? I always laugh that, you know, most sports would never ask an athlete to thank somebody with a handwritten thank you note, but as long as they don't, we look better.
Did you find then when you're going out to pitch sponsorships, it doesn't sound like it was too much of a sales job, but were you selling the game? Or were you selling the players, or was it a combination?
Well, there was two things that we had in 2010 that I'm not sure we knew how good they were. The first thing we had was we were global. We put on incredible hometown events, but because we were global, because players come from 30 different countries, 165 countries televise us every week. So I could go and talk to a sponsor about doing a great event right here in your hometown, but even though it's going to be a great hometown event, even though you can bring in all your customers, play in a program with 100 of the best female golfers on the planet, we're going to let the rest of the world eavesdrop. Actually, the Olympics that we went through a couple weeks ago has been a great experience for us, because what I always tell people is we're going to put a small version of the Olympics on in your hometown. We're going to have the best in the world strive to get here. We're going to have incredible stories of how they made it, and we're going to let the rest of the world watch.
Now that you've seen the event and the result, which everybody I think would agree were great, what do you think is going to be the result moving forward of that long-awaited return to the Olympics?
When I started in 2010, I'll be the first to admit, on the Olympic golf board, I asked the question, why did we do this? Is this really that important? And the board members said, why don't you wait a few years and see the Olympic movement? And I'm thinking, wait a few years, it's not till 16. But when you travel around the country and around the world like we do, what you realize is around the world, there's two kinds of sports. Sports and podium sports. Podium sports are when your country might be on a podium with your flag going up, and other countries spend money on podium sports. And what happened with golf is countries all around the world started investing in teachers, country programs, facilities, programs for young girls. So now if you're a young girl growing up almost anywhere in the world, because we're a podium sport, there's places to play, there's programs to get involved in, there's coaches, there's teachers, and that didn't exist in 2007, 2008. So in my mind, what the Olympic movement was all about, what's happened making golf an Olympic sport. 2016 in Rio was icing on the cake. Whoever was on the podium was going to be great news, and of course it was.
Obviously, one of the players that we kept a keen eye on as Canadians over in Rio was Brooke Henderson. We all know about her as a player, but from your position, give us a sense of what you see from her just as a person.
Well, the best part about Brooke and her sister, for that matter, Brittany, is they're having fun out here. I mean, they're having fun on Tuesday and they're having fun on Sunday. Now, don't get me wrong, it's easy to have fun on Sunday when you're top 10ing it all week after week, but they're enjoying the experience. I looked the other day to see, we've had a grueling long schedule this year, and I looked, and Brooke, tied with 3 other players, has played in more events than anybody else. Now, this is a player who's doing well enough to skip events, but she's enjoying herself. They're traveling the country. I love watching, what she does on Twitter, because on a Tuesday night, she's going and experiencing different parts of the places that we're visiting. So what I like about Brooke is she's a world-class golfer, but she's still 18. I mean, she's still fun. She's still taking it all in. She enjoys the autographs and the selfies as much as she enjoys the birdies and the eagles. And that's going to make it better for the 12-year-old who's hitting balls somewhere in Canada saying, I want to be Brooke, because Brooke's not only teaching her what it means to be a great golfer, she's teaching her what it means to be a great ambassador.
I'm keen on your thoughts on slow play, whether or not there's something that can be done about it, and if you have a message to your players about trying to speed the game up.
Well, I've got kind of two sides of slow play. The first is, if I brought my players together and say, tell me the 3 issues you really want us to address, slow play will always be in the top 3. So don't think this is a fan issue that the players don't want to address. It is a player want to address. For 7 seasons, we have fined more players on the LPGA Tour than probably all other tours combined. On the other side of that, as a player, I'm an amateur. I mean, I can play around in 4 hours and not think about it. I can play around in 3.5 hours and not think about it. I'm not putting for $14,000 every time I'm standing over a 4-foot putt. An out-of-bounds shot for me means I grab another one out of my bag and throw it down on the tee. For here, it means you may or may not miss the cut. So I think trying to talk about how fast you and I can play on Saturday and whether or not they should play at the same speed is silly. We put pin placements that make the best players in the world get challenged. If our home course did that, we'd complain about the pin placement. So I think we want to make sure that we're playing as fast as we can play. But I think when I get an email from a fan saying, I can play in 3 hours and 40 minutes, I think, great for you. If I told you you were playing for $150,000 on Saturday, pretty sure you're 25 minutes slower. And that's just a reality.
What is your #1 goal over the next couple of years for the LPGA Tour?
My goal really isn't to create more events, because I think if I created more events, players are still going to play 30 times a year, and so if I have 45 events, I'm just going to have to apologize to 15 title sponsors a year on why players aren't there. So I feel like our schedule is good. So my next challenge is to get the schedule we have more prominent. So I want to invest more time, effort, and money to make sure that when we're playing, more people are paying attention. When I started, we had 1 event on network TV. This year we'll have 7 events on network TV. I think if we can get that to 10 events, 12 events on network TV, a third of the time that we teed it up, we could be introducing ourselves to a broader audience than just golf fans. I think the sport starts to take off at a new level. One of the benefits, obviously, from the Olympics was the amount of coverage we got in every country. Even if they only showed us for an hour, that hour probably created more casual fans than we've gotten in the last year.
So are you playing more golf or less golf now in this role than you were before? And you've got a background as a hockey exec too, so more or less now playing golf?
So I definitely play my own ball less. I play a lot of pro-ams and a lot of scrambles, and I get about 120 tips every week out here. I'm going to look at my Twitter or look at my text messages, and I got a lot of text. Get to your left side, Commission.
Good. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. It's great.
Appreciate you covering us.